It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Monday, April 5th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and support us on Patreon. So today, what is going to happen on this wonderful Monday? Coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, and of course, a Sunday sermon, the message about don't forget what God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord did for you in the past. So guys, how was your weekend? What is going on? I'm sure a lot of things have happened and you're able to enjoy your weekend, get some rest and relaxation on Saturday, and then have an amazing, graceful Sunday service, receiving some fire with the Sunday message about remembering the past. Don't forget what God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord have done for you. So I know that we're restarting another week and I hope we can do it together here on the Morning Star Drive. Let's make it a week to determine our hearts not to change. All right? So let's do this together on the Morning Star Drive. Thanks for joining us, and like and comment below if you can. And we want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Make your requests, your questions, and what you guys think about today's program. All right. On Friday, we had another interesting video on Espresso with Sky channel. It's about Korean dramas and their history and why are all Korean dramas, or why are Koreans so into certain things? Why are they so shimjonic, right? And we went over that. For that one. Very, very good response for that Sky Talk. Also, tomorrow we're going to have another vlog, another great experience I had here in Malaysia. So I hope you guys will enjoy that too. Yesterday was the Sunday edition, and we interviewed Daniel Baker from America and Korea because he's half and half, right? It's like the coffee creamer, half and half, right? So great interview. Really thankful, dude. He's only 17 years old, second gen SS. He is It was just an amazing experience to be able to interview him. So guys, go ahead, check that out. He's very, very hopeful. You guys can see a vision and future through him, all right? So check out this week's Sunday edition. Also, big shout outs for those patrons on Patreon. We have Misa in Japan, and we have Fan in America, and Anne in the UK for supporting us on Patreon, for believing and supporting this channel. And if you want to support us too, go ahead, check out the Patreon link in the description. If you're on SoundCloud, click the blue button on the homepage. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that you can support the Morning Star Drive for just $3 a month. And at the moment, we have like a little bit more than 90% of the people that are just supporting for the sake of supporting because they want the channel to do well, and it gives them something to listen to in the morning. And also for those of you out there would like to do it, there's lecture training, there's Bible studies and all sorts on there. So go ahead and check that out. All right. Also, Monday Open Bible Study Session 3 will begin tomorrow, right? Oh, no, tonight. It's beginning tonight. So we're going to go into some advanced lecturing. So those of you guys have registered, go ahead, continue to. I think a lot of people have already registered. I think over 60, 70, maybe 80 people. No, I think it's over 90 people already. All right, so let's get into this featured. Let's do some memory music from around the world. We got some. What's the name of the Mondays? Mondays is Manic Monday, or we just call it just an awesome Monday. You know what? Forget about the alliteration. We're just going to call it the beginning. We'll call it the Genesis Mondays, right? Because it is the beginning. We're going to start off with Man and Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea, and this song is called Trendy. And then Kumachung from Japan with Open My Eyes, and then Justar Aiden Verdi from New Zealand with Holy House. All right, guys? So as usual, let's just make sure that we support all our member artists, and make sure more than anything else at this time, especially when we're praying and developing ourselves, let's pray. Let's keep these member artists in our prayers.
친구들 다 인스타만 나는 다파 시간조차 관계 강박증인가 봐 여자 사람 친구에게 온 선팔 애답하기도 싫은 내가 너 미사 멋진 옷 멋진 차 멋진 홈 멋진 꿈 멋진 덤이 전부 다 거짓말이지만 알면서도 속아 넘어가는 게 예의상이 돼버린 일상이 너무 신물나요 마치 버블껌처럼 금방 질릴걸 현실 감각 떨어져도 팔로워는 오르고 언팔당한 너무 속상해서 잠 못 이루고 이게 반복인데 유행 따라갈란 내 피드도 I don't wanna refresh 근데 패션 게시글에 멋진 옷이 올라오는데 이걸 이렇게 멈춰 I'm break it it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far. 책벌레는 trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far, yeah. 디지털 이진법은 너무나 재미있어. 난 수학도 못하면서 너는 CG 같은 놈인지 너에게 거짓말 빼면 몇 개가 남는지 마네킹 같은 너의 팔다리가 부러워. 도시 속의 빛이 우리 그림자를 가려. 덕분에 수치 없이 이대로 흘러가길 원해. 낭만을 찾았던 너는 중독자는 바보 되고 난 바보 돼버렸어. 그래도 어쩌겠어. 인스타그램에선 세상의 모든 얘기들이 올라오는 것만 따라가지 못할까봐 노심초사를 해. 난 저격을 하지 못해 정보시대. 덕분에 내 머리는 고정이 난 듯해. 덕분에 나는 느린 거북목이 됐네. 덕분에 목적지는 너무 멀어. I wanna be here 멀어져 속세. 근데 난 못해 나 원래 이래. I wanna be here 멀어져 속세. 근데 난 못해 나 원래 이래. trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far. 책벌레는 trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far, yeah. trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far. 책벌레는 trendy 하지 못해 대처럼 fairly 끊지 못해 오늘의 candy 내 꿈과는 I'm so far, I'm so far, yeah.
Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 見心探して Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 未来照らす my way。 揺れないで go 揺れないで go どんな困難迫害が来ても動じない強い信仰を持って立ち向かおう。ファミリーで go ファミリーで go 全ての人を受け入れられる家族のような温かさを持ってゆこう。主の御心ファーストでゆこう。いつも主の心情と共に主の言葉を最優先にして動き出そう。伝えよう。御言葉を実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう。全ての個性才能を生かし挑戦しよう。主役になろう。伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining 伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining オープンでこうオープンでこう地域や社会の目線に立ち発展に積極的に貢献しよう。近づいてこう近づいてこう全ての世代と距離を近く親しく接したならは僕をなそう。縛られてる心を捨ててこう新しい取り組みをしよう。主の言葉で心を燃やして動き出そう。どんどんチャレンジしよう。家族のような温かさで愛に満ちた教会しよう。 CGM オープンの先駆者として強みを生かし大胆になろう。伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining 伝えたい I'm
happy unhappy 新しく You are training, you are training 主の御言葉に出会いすべて与えられた何もない私だったけど育ててくれたその愛をいつまでも忘れずにいようもらったものすべて捧げ御心がそう御言を実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこうすべての個性才能生かし挑戦しよう主役になろう Open the eyes, open the door Open my heart 見た心探して Open the eyes, open the door Open my heart 未来照らす my way Looking out on the window, making eyes at the clouds, wondering where did the time go, hanging tight to you now. Stop the sun and stop the moon, make it last forever, me and you. Stop the stars and stop the dawn. Let the night go on and on. This is our holy house, decked out in sapphire blue. Midnight struck, God fell in love. Now I'm in a holy house with you. Looking up under stage lights, making eyes at the crowd. Got your head on my shoulder, I hear your breath getting loud, loud. Stop the sun and stop the moon, make it last forever, me and you. Stop the stars and stop the door, let the night go on and on. This is our holy house, decked out in sapphire blue. Midnight struck, God fell in love. Now I'm in a holy house with you. Holy house, holy
And there you go. That was Juestar Aidenberry from New Zealand with Holy House. And she looks like she's doing a lot of concerts over there in New Zealand. So great news for her. Kuma-chan from Japan with Open My Eyes. And of course, the featured artist of the day is Man and Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. And that song is called Trendy. All right, guys. So let's get into some updates going on from the weekend. Things that we've missed out on. It's a whole weekend that we missed out. So let's take a look at what is out there. Let's start with coronavirus updates. And in the world, there's 131.1 million cases, 2.8 million deaths at 2.18% mortality rate. Top 6 countries going by daily infection rates. We have the U.S. with 31.3 million cases, 567,000 deaths at 1.81%. Brazil, 12.9 million cases, 329,000 deaths, and the only country in the top 6 to have a rising mortality rate going up 0.03% to 2.02% to 2.54% mortality rate. India, 12.4 million cases, 164,000 deaths. Their mortality rate goes down to 1.32%. France, 4.7 million cases, 96,000 deaths, and they go down to 2.03%. Turkey also goes down to 0.93% with 3.4 million cases, 32,000 deaths, and Poland rounds up the top 6 with 2.4 million cases, 54,000 deaths. Sweden drops to 1.66% and Belgium down to 2.59%. So overall, it's a good shift, and a lot of countries have gone down in their mortality rates. So now let's look at the daily infection rates. And of course, daily infection rates is just saying that how fast the coronavirus is spreading. But of course, the biggest one that matters more, excuse me, I just yawned there for some reason. Maybe it's a little bit early for me, right? It's the daily infection rates are important. However, they're not as important as a mortality rate of how many people are actually dying, right? So it's almost like the flu. Like the flu, you have tons of people that get it. However, very, very few that actually die from it. So let's take a look at the top 6 countries. We'll start with India's on top this week. Yeah, India's, I think, is it's the second time I've seen this. India, 89,000 cases in a day. The U.S. was 70, and Brazil was 69,000 cases. France jumps in 4th with 46,000 cases in a day. Turkey with 42, and then Poland with 30,000 cases in a day. Now, here in Southeast Asia, Philippines, huge increase. They are up to 15,000 cases in a day, right? It's a crazy amount. I think they not tripled, but they probably doubled from the last time we talked about them. And then Indonesia next with 5,300, and then Malaysia, where I'm at, drops to 1,200 cases in a single day. So we'll stay on the coronavirus news. That's the first news item for today. We're going to go to Brazil. And Brazil, more than 60,000 people died of the coronavirus in March alone. Just March was over 60,000 people. So it was 66,570 people in Brazil died of the coronavirus in March, in 1 month. More than double the previous monthly record, and this is what figures are showing. And the country's health service has been pushed to the brink as cases of the virus continue to climb. And the president also, that's in hot water, Bolsonaro, has faced intense criticism from his handling of the crisis and was hit by high-profile resignations this week. But on Wednesday, he again railed against lockdown measures imposed by local governors and mayors. And basically, people are saying that there's two enemies. It's the virus and unemployment. And this is a reality, so we're not going to solve this problem by staying at home. So Wednesday also saw a further 3,800 new deaths and over 90,000 new coronavirus cases. And Brazil's daily deaths currently account for about a quarter of all coronavirus fatalities in the world, okay? So new chiefs of the Army, Navy, and Air Force were announced on Wednesday to replace those who resigned on Tuesday in an apparent protest at the sudden sacking of the defense minister at that time. And Mr. Bolsonaro and his minister had clashed over the issue of the armed forces loyalty, which the defense minister said should be directed to upholding the Constitution more than supporting a president personally. So the role of the armed forces in Brazilian politics has been a sensitive issue since the country's return to democracy in 1985, and that was after 21 years of military rule. Right. So you have a new defense minister, Navy minister, Air Force minister too, and the announcement came on the anniversary of the 1964 coup that brought the military to power, and basically said that the military would not be found wanting when the country needs it. So the day before, he had raised concern by saying the coup had pacified the country and should be celebrated. So President Bolsonaro, a former army captain himself, prompted outrage in 2019 when he organized a commemoration of the coup. As well as losing his defense minister, Mr. Bolsonaro also had to replace his foreign minister and 5 other cabinet ministers. Right, so now we heard about this guy last week. It's Marcelo Quiroga. He's a cardiologist, became the 4th health minister since the pandemic began, which means, guys, 4 health ministers in a matter of 14 months. So that's pretty crazy right there, too. So that's what's going on over there in Brazil. Yes, 66,000 deaths in a month. So that's pretty crazy. Let's go to the next thing that happened over there in the world. In Taiwan, there was a train crash and 51 people died from it. So officials are investigating a train crash in Taiwan that killed 51 people. They're focusing on a maintenance lorry that slid onto the track. And the train hit the lorry, then crashed inside a tunnel on Friday. A construction site manager suspected of negligence has been granted bail. And rescuers are yet to extract a number of mangled carriages from the tunnel and fear they may find more bodies. So the train had been packed with people traveling to celebrate a holiday, and the accident was Taiwan's worst rail disaster in more than 70 years. The Disaster Command Center says 3 foreigners are among the dead, 2 American women and a Frenchman. So the train had been traveling from the capital of Taipei to Taitung and was entering the tunnel north of Hualien when the crash happened, and many of the nearly 500 passengers on board may have been standing because the train was so full. This 408 train is one of the fastest deployed on Taiwan's network and can reach speeds of 130 kilometers an hour. And the president visited a hospital in Hualien on Saturday to express sympathy to the families of the victims. Grieving relatives and some holding makeshift shrines and weeping openly held prayers at the crash site on Saturday. And flags across the island are being flown at half-mast for 3 days. Among those honoring the victims were baseball players who observed a minute's silence ahead of a game on Friday. So what's the latest at the scene? Rescuers remain at the scene as part of the mangled train is still in the tunnel. And on Saturday, the unnamed construction site manager was released on bail, and he could be getting prosecuted too. And he could face charges of causing death by negligence, right? And of forging documents. And he said he was cooperating with investigators. So there, it's definitely going to get investigated, but this really horrible thing that's happening. So recovery teams have begun removing the rear carriages of the train, which were relatively unscathed. And fire service chiefs said that they expected to find more bodies trapped in the carriages still inside the tunnel. So what do we know about the crash? It happened about 9 a.m. local time on Friday, and some passengers at the back of the train were able to walk away unscathed, while 100 were rescued from the first 4 carriages. Now, many were trapped inside the wreckage for hours, and some survivors told how they smashed windows to escape. And many of those on the train are believed to have been traveling to celebrate Taiwan's Tomb Sweeping Festival, a time when people pay their respects to the dead by visiting the graves of family members, sprucing them up, and making offerings to their spirits. So the death toll is the highest for a train crash in Taiwan in 73 years. Because in 1948, there was a passenger brought flammable material onto a train, causing a fire that burned 4 carriages and killed 64 people. But we'll see what the final result will be for that crash. So that's something we really need to pray for them over there in Taiwan. Last but not least, COVID passport trials to begin this month in the UK. So the government is planning for a COVID passport scheme that will start to be trialed this month at a series of pilot events. Ministers are hoping passes will allow the safe return of sports matches, conferences, and nightclubs in England, and they would show whether a person is vaccinated, had a recent negative test, or natural immunity determined by a positive test in the last 6 months. So Downing Street also confirmed countries will be in a risk-based traffic light system when foreign holidays resume, and officials are looking to find a way to allow venues to reopen without the need for social distancing. And the government said trials will also explore how ventilation and testing on entry could help audiences return to mass events. So the pilots will last until mid-May and include the FA Cup semi-final and final, the World Snooker Championships in Sheffield, a mass participation run at Hatfield House in Hertfordshire, and several events in Liverpool, including an evening at a nightclub, a business conference, and a cinema screening in the city. So they're just piloting this to see how it goes. The first pilot event will be a comedy night in Liverpool. That'll be on April 16th, where audience members will be tested for COVID before and after the show. And the NHS is said to be working on a system to allow people to demonstrate their status through an app or paper certificate. Now, the government said it's also working with the clinical and ethical experts on exemptions for people for whom vaccination is not advised and repeat testing would be difficult. So, a lot of people said that they didn't want this type of scheme to go on, which it is describing as kind of COVID status certification to be used on public transport or in essential shops. So businesses in England which can reopen in the coming weeks, including pubs, restaurants, and non-essential retail, will not have to use the system for now. But sources say requiring a certificate to access hospitality further down the line, perhaps to reduce the need for social distancing, has not been ruled out. So this is all in the UK, and the Prime Minister Johnson also said they've made huge strides over the past months with the vaccine program, and everyone in the the country has made huge sacrifice to get to this stage in a recovery for the coronavirus, and they're doing everything they can to enable the reopening of the country so people can return to the events, travel, and other things they love as safely as possible. Right, so we're hoping that we'll see. Hopefully this can be something where travel can start again. This is only in the UK, and I know that other countries are going to test out and pilot this type of system. Hopefully this will allow things to open up even more. All right, so that is what is going on over there in England right now with this COVID passport that will allow big events with lots of people to gather. And hopefully this will be something that can be used even in airlines, right? And other countries will accept it. And that would be a good thing so that the travel and hospitality industry can open up back again. All right, so that is the news going on right now all over the world. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which means we are going into a time of praise and worship, a little bit of a spiritual time. So we're going to start with God of the Righteous and then move to the new songs of the Lord, and then we'll end off with everyone in every time period. So everyone together as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's make sure that we give praise and glory and honor to the Holy Trinity.
Fulfill that day in smelting fire. He shall fulfill that day, burn the wicked and proud away. Like bundles of hay, he'll burn their branches and roots, leaving no remains behind. With fire he'll burn them all. But to all of you who fear and worship my name, the Son of Justice will rise up blazingly. Brilliant rays of healing will shine upon all of you. Like calves set free, you will run and jump, jump for joy. Our God will always be on the side of the righteous. Almighty God is our salvation. He is our refuge, our Jehovah. I shall fear and worship His name. I shall praise and honor His name. And when the day of the Lord comes, we will strike the drums of victory. Jehovah God will fulfill that day in smelting fire. He shall fulfill that day, burn the wicked and proud away. Like bundles of hay, he'll burn their branches and roots, leaving no remains behind. With fire he'll burn them all. But to all of you who fear and worship my name, you will surely trample on all of the wicked ones. When
songs. The word overflows with the Lord and the Trinity. We've fulfilled heaven's will. Only through love all was fulfilled. Now my spirit holds the wedding feast up in heaven. Through the Lord all was revealed. After 6,000 years, it's the true history of the Lord. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore. From the Lord's great new songs, the word overflows with the Lord and the Trinity. We've fulfilled heaven's will. Only through love all was fulfilled. Now my spirit holds the wedding feast up in heaven. Through the Lord all was revealed. After 6,000 years, it's the true history of the Lord. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore.
There comes a time when everyone must decide what side they will choose. So when we see truth fighting lies,
you go. That is Everyone in Every Time Period. Hope you guys enjoyed singing that praise song together. Before that was the New Songs of the Lord, and of course, God of the Righteous. All right, guys. So it is time now for some word study for today. What amazing, crazy message. I was really enthralled by it, and I was like, what's that word? Captivated. Pastor Joan just really did another crazy sermon, and I hope that all of us too, as you know, and with all the head leaders too that are really working on these sermons on Wednesdays, we got to go and kick it. Like, we really got to make sure that it is very, very powerful, like how Pastor Joan did it. This week was really, like, what the message Sun's team gave was just powerful. Why? Oh, gosh, don't forget what God has done for us, right? Don't forget what God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord have done for us. And it's a time of reflection, but it's also an answer, right? So it's a time that we should be reflecting. However, it's an answer. And what's the answer for? Right? I liked it how it kind of has that beginning point talking about Israel who was enslaved, whipped, and beaten, mistreated. They were slaves, right? That's just how they treated slaves back then. And they go into the desert, and then they want to be slaves again, which is so crazy if you think about that, right? And the answer is, what changed? Is their heart changed, right? Their heart was just a mess. And it kind of, like, the big question, and I think it was a really, really deep question if you think about it, is when Sunseam received the revelation in the morning, and the revelation is, why can't people save themselves, right? Why can't people save themselves? And the answer is because their hearts change so much, or because people change. And we're easily changing all the time. And when you look at this, it's true, because some of the things that Pastor Joan was saying is just like, man, that's so true. Because I know a lot of people, when they first come into the history, including myself, we talk about, I'm going to be on fire. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pray. Oh, pre-dawn is so important. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Oh, man, I can never miss this. And then, you meet them a couple months later, and they just don't go to pre-dawn anymore. Right? And it's like, before they're like, I realize the value of it. And then all of a sudden they don't realize the value of it, or they lost it, right? People change so fast. Just look at our own lives. We change so quickly that, we might think to ourselves, is like, well, is it really that quick? And the answer is yeah, because people can change in a matter of days, weeks, sometimes hours and minutes. We get so deep into something, and then we just go completely against it the next moment. Like, we're against it. Like, all of a sudden, we're at two extremes. And we love and we hate. And it doesn't take much time for us to do that either. And the issue is, how do we solve this? The biggest problem is that we forget what God has done for us. We forget and we die. Right? The brain remembers what it hears. Brain remembers what it touches and sees. The brain remembers, right? It's the out of sight and out of mind. Right? Because we see it, we think about it. And because we hear it, or we touch it, or feel it, we think about it. But the moment we stop thinking about it, it's like, it's out of our brain. And because it's out of our brain, we forget. We forget how good we've had it. Right? We forget how good it was before. Or we forget how much we've received. And we even forget how good it is right now. And I think the sad part is not that I think the sad part is, more than anything else, is because it just takes something small for us to forget. Like, we just got to go through something difficult, and then we forget, which is kind of the sad part. Right? It only takes a little problem for us to forget all the things that happen. We just start complaining and saying these bad things, and we're like, why is Providence like this? Or why is it like this? Why do I have to wake up? Right? And it's quite interesting, because if you were to literally, like, imagine the Israelites were literally going back to slavery, where they're getting whipped and beaten. Their children have no hope in the future, mistreated. Imagine going back to that lifestyle. Do you think that they'd be like, I'm so happy I'm there? It's really short-sighted. Like, human beings, just in general, we're so short-sighted. We only look at the present. And it was like that verse that Pastor Joan brought up. I think it was like in, was it Psalms 25? 20? No, what was it? Was it Psalm chapter 20? It was like, you forget the past, you only think of the present, and then God will tear you apart. And the answer is, he's going to tear you apart with your expectations of what's supposed to happen right now in the present. But ultimately, you're supposed to tear apart your thoughts. Because I don't know, like, do you think if they really went back to slavery, being mistreated like that, Do you really think they're going to say, we're so happy we came back to slavery? And the answer is, I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. Actually, I'm pretty 100% sure, it doesn't matter if you were like guaranteed food, even though it's like crappy and not good food, but you're guaranteed food every day. Wouldn't you rather want the freedom so you can make your food and have hope for better food in the future? It's kind of what, like when in the beginning, how America was built on, the American dream, where there's a hope that you can have a better life than what you have right now, which can't change. And a lot of people from communist countries or countries that were really poor, they're willing to risk it for the hope, right? The hope that they can make a better life for themselves. And a lot of these immigrants came over to America and they made a better life. A lot of these rich people used to be immigrants, like generational immigrants. So it's quite interesting to see that how short-sighted the human mind is, and we're only looking at what's happening right now at that moment. So, we've received such amazing things in the past, and we just change our hearts over something so small. You receive something crazy in the past, and your heart changes over something small right now, which is which is like pretty sad if you think about that. And this is why we have to set our minds this week, guys. We really have to set our hearts to stay until the end, right? And it was a perfect example is, would you want to marry someone who thinks it's not going to last? It doesn't make any sense. But if you have someone who really wants to stay together forever, you will invest in that person, right? You'll work on the relationship as much as you can, because there's hope and there's a wanting to be that much putting that much into the relationship. And it's the same thing with the Holy Trinity. If you set your mind to stay until the end, then the Holy Trinity has a reason to invest in you, right? There's a reason to invest in you, work on you even more, right? Because nobody wants to be with someone on the short term when it comes to something like marriage and being together forever, right? Guys, we have to think about all the things we've gone through just to get to this point, whether it's persecution or slander, hiding from your parents, or some people got beaten. What else was there, guys? Sunsi went to prison. We had to deal with this, and just so many things we're dealing with all the time. Even when I was at the Lord's church, we were dealing with these people like holding signs up and putting a TV on across the street. It was just crazy if you think about it, guys. So much we went through just to get to this point. Just to get to this point. So we have to realize what God has done, really. Think about something, what he's done. Right? Just think about the 10 years of prison. And even in that situation, as Pastor Joan was pointing out, what about the word that was given? It was given without fail. And it wasn't just the Sunday message. It was the Wednesday message. It was pre-dawn Proverbs. It was education. It was crazy when you think about it. He was nuts. Sunsim was basically out of his mind, right? Just doing he didn't have to either. All that counseling through letters, sending tens of thousands of letters, all the counseling, calling people, the educations. Of course, the greatest and biggest of all was the rapture, salvation. You know what's crazy, guys? You know what's crazy if you think about it? Is that there's rapture, and even if you don't get rapture, there's still salvation. You know what I mean? It's crazy when you think about it. If you don't get rapture, we'll still save you. That to me is mind-blowing. He's giving you a second chance, a second spot. Guys, you might not rapture, but just don't hold on. You can still be saved at least. A shameful salvation we talked about before. We got to think about it, guys. We got to think about all the things God has done. Really. We got to start again. We cannot change. Right? The heart changes so quickly. We forget, and there is a benefit though. I would say the one benefit of the forgetful mind, which we should utilize, is when your mind is forgetful, you'll even forget the bad things. You can move forward. That's how we utilize, right? The heart changes so quickly. So the good thing is you can forget the terrible things. You can make it so you can move forward and change. You can attach yourself to God, right? We need to ask God to invest in us. Right? And ask him to invest and say that we won't change. And this is a message I think a lot of people might have changed. The way that it was, the last few months of messages is about people who left, people whose hearts have changed, people who said they'd stay till the end, but they're gone. There's a lot of people that have changed, right? And if you just do a little bit of research just in your own countries, even small countries around us, you'll see there are a ton of people that are not here anymore when we go back to Korea and everything else. We have to be the ones that stay till the end. We do. And I really hope that we can think about, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much we've slipped or messed up, we haven't left, we've got time, and we got to push ourselves to the end, right? So I really hope that, this message, we got to think about what we're going to do when we pray in the pre-dawn this time. What am I going to pray about? What am I going to do? And I really hope that all of us will get our hearts and our minds thinking deeply, crazily about this week's message. Don't change. Don't change. Stay until the end. And this is like, even on the interviews I do for the Sunday edition, that's one of the number one things that people give for advice is stay until the end. Do it until the end. And it is one of the greatest philosophies. Don't worry. No matter what happens, do it until the end. And I hope that we can be people that will have that mindset too. All right. If you guys have any other points that you want to point out, go ahead, write that in the comment section. I would love to hear from you on that also. All right. So that is the word study for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which means we're going to move on to the song of choice for today. And because of this week's message of not changing, we need to be those people that can stand next to God at all times, no matter what, right? That God can call upon us and that we could stand next to him and say, yes, God, I haven't changed. I'm not going to leave you. So we're going to go into a group that we've heard many times. I love this cover group called Music Travel Love, originally called the Moffats. And they're going to do a cover of the song from Benny King called Stand By Me. And of course, it's a great song, right? A great song that we can learn and understand that we need to have that never-changing hearts, right? The 일편단심. Okay, guys? So let's welcome Music Travel Love with Stand By Me.
One, two, three, four. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Just as long as you stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Just as long as you stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me?
And that was Music, Travel, Love. And that song was Stand By Me, a cover of Benny King's original. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're inspired by that too, which will lead us into today's last section for today. And because this is a week to not forget, I do think it's a good time. If any of you is out there that really want to talk about something, what God has done for you that we need to remember, you can go ahead and write that to me, and I'll put that into the next podcast for this week, especially. For myself, a couple things. I just want to tell a story of something that happened that makes me very thankful about the things that God has done for me. And this happened in New York. I believe it happened sometime either 2016 or 17, one of the two. And it was a Saturday night, and we haven't gone. Was it a Saturday night? Yeah, we were all cleaning the church before the big Sunday service. And we were, everyone's like cleaning the church up and everything else. And out of nowhere, huge, like we hear an explosion and like all the windows are shaking. I was surprised they didn't break. And we're like, what the heck was that? And I ran outside to look, and one block down the street, just one block down, in like right near the subway station where we go. There was a huge explosion that went off. And it was crazy because it was so loud, and tons of people should have died. Actually, tons of people should have died. But the big mistake that was made is that whoever had that bomb, they put it into a trash bin. You know those big metal trash bins? I guess the person was thinking that if you put into a trash bin, it'll be a bigger explosion. Like that. I'm just in my thinking. The theory that if you have a firecracker and you open your hand and you set off the firecracker in your hand, there's just like a little black mark on your hand. But if you close your hand and you light the firecracker, your hand blows off, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I think this person might have been thinking that, but because it's a trash can that's really sturdy and strong, it exploded inside, and all the fire and all the debris went shooting upwards out, because that's what a garbage can is. It's an open top. And all the stuff shot in the air instead of flying everywhere instead. And I believe, if I remember, there was another bomb that was found that was similar. It's like a crock pot made into a bomb with like a bunch of nuts and bolts in it, so it would have like maximum damage. And the other one didn't blow off, but this one did. But it was a really, really scary thing. And now I believe it might have even been around the time there was that Boston Marathon explosion too. But it was a time that everything was really heightened. There was another story during that time where some person was driving their minivan and ran over like five bikers in the bike lane or whatever. It was just crazy stuff going on, but it was so close to the church. Because if you guys know what one block is in New York, it's basically about, I would say, like 50 steps. That's like one block, right? It was street. We were on like 37th. No, we were on 35th, and this was on 34th. And it was like, yeah, it was so crazy how you can feel like this explosion go off. And for me, I was really, really grateful and thankful because we're like, everyone stay in, everyone don't go out. We don't know. We want to keep everyone safe. And it was right by the train station entrance. So I was really scared. Like people could have been, any one of us could have been down there. But even if we did go down there, the crazy thing would be is because that it was put into one of those metal garbage cans, all the stuff sprayed into the sky, all the explosion, the blast went upwards instead of out. And they were saying it in the news that it was actually a big blessing that they put it into that garbage can. So when I remember that time too, I was like, wow, so thankful to God that no one got hurt. Very, very few people got hurt. When I went to go check it out, there were a few people that were bleeding. But there's no casualties. And another great thing was at that moment when it went off, there weren't a lot of people around. So, and that was a major street too. That was 34th. I believe it's 34th. We were on 35th. It was 34th, which is a big street. A lot of people walking by, but so thankful that not many people were around at that time. I think the max I saw was like 2 or 3 people that were had a little bit of blood on them, but no one was majorly hurt. So I was just thinking about this time here. I was like, wow, even at our church, so close to the church, not a single person got injured. And what made it even crazier was, guess what? They made the bomb explode in a garbage can, which dealt very few injuries. And not, well, you know, maybe there was very few people. No, very few people got injured because it was in the garbage can. But if it wasn't there, tons of people would have got injured too. So I believe it was right in front of a residence that this bomb was put. So this reminds me of just that time there, just really scary time, a bomb going off near the church. And yeah, it was. I can feel it again. It's kind of what this week's message says. Your nerves, you're not going to remember it, right? If you don't think about it, but in your thoughts, you can relive it. And man, it was incredible, the sound. I've just never heard an explosion that loud before, rocking the window like 1 block away. And I'm sure it wasn't just our block. Tons of blocks probably felt it too. But that is something I'm super grateful for. And I think I need to think about a lot more things of the things that God has done for me to realize how much more that I can't change my heart. And I have to be someone who's just really rock solid and strong. A pillar, right? You know, like in the scriptures say, God is the rock. God is the pillar. He's the stationary, like he's the rock that will never change, that will hold up everything. And that we have to be the same thing. So God never has to worry about us, right? So I hope that really helps you guys out, that we can really understand a little bit more. I hope you guys too start thinking about different testimonies or stories that you guys had, and we can hear more of them from this week. All right, guys. So that is the last segment for today. Hope you guys really enjoy this Monday podcast. Great start to the week, everyone. Have an amazing Monday, even though Mondays are kind of crazy sometimes. We've got to restart our engines to go back to work and school, whatever it is. So I hope that everyone has an amazing Monday, and then we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire